This is something that holds us, where our mission is to bring people closer to their emotions through conversations about our life experiences to understand not only who we are, but who we want to be. Today I have joining me.
Skye Verbs.
Thank you for coming on. I did you're a guest that I wanted to have on much sooner, but I feel like around that time you were doing your rounds on podcasts. You were on it. It seems like you were on everybody's podcast. So I was
It
like,
was something that I fell into. I mean, I didn't even know, like, I have no experience, but I guess I like to talk.
you definitely like to talk. I know you,
Ayo.
but you got a lot of good stuff to say.
I'm glad some of the stuff I say is good.
I usually kick off the podcast is with a community meeting.
Okay.
You familiar with that?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god. I'm gonna get to episode 20 or 30, and I'm gonna stop asking people if they're familiar with that because I need you, my guests, to be doing the same research on the podcast as I do with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
So a community meeting is a good way to stay focused for in future thinking and keeping yourself accountable. So you ask yourself when you're in a group of, it could be one on one or a group of more people, you would ask each other three questions. The first one being, how are you feeling?
Wow. In one word,
Yeah, how you feeling today
I
or in this
feel,
moment?
I feel, in this very moment, I feel calm.
Okay, and that's a good way to feel. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You're not gonna feel calm 2 hours from now. I mean, you could not feel it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about taking inventory about how you feel right now.
Yeah. I would say 15 minutes ago before I got here, I wasn't, but I'm calm now.
Okay, we're gonna stick to the calm now. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
address that. Okay. What's the goal you have for today or this week?
To get organized in my schedule.
Who can you ask for help?
Hmm?
Who can you ask for help?
God. And um I'm doing more work on like looking inward for as much as I can help myself, like creating a safe space within myself. So I try to, before jumping outward, jump inward.
Okay. And I will say, just for the sake of, I'm sorry for the cough I have.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the sake of the community meeting, you really want to identify somebody that is tangible,
Mm,
that we know that we want to identify that we have people in our community that can support us
right.
when our backs are against the wall or when we need the help. Simply put,
Uh-huh.
because I know you're enough for yourself, but make sure you have somebody in the back of your head. It's like, all right, I'm gonna try to get through this by myself, but if I need to, I'm gonna call this person.
Right.
And that can be with any task.
Yeah.
Give me one fact about yourself.
Mm, my favorite thing about myself is the way I love my people
How do you love your people?
at a deep capacity of understanding and acceptance, which is the way that I also, the more I love myself that way, the deeper I can love other people that way.
The more you love yourself, with more like you increase your capacity of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like your friends struggle with their capacity of understanding you?
I think it's hard because um, the majority of my friends I've had, which is such a huge blessing for a really long time, like over half my life or the majority of my life. And you kind of have to check in and like really be aware of the growth of your people, like internally. What could be important to me and what brings me joy then, and then could even be like a couple months ago, is not necessarily what brings me joy, what's important to me now, or things that um, needs that I had then are not needs that I have now. So I think it's a constant check in.
Okay. I guess I asked that because when I think about that, as somebody that I take a lot of pride in the relationships that I have with people as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess it's that part of the capacity that you have of understanding. You're not gonna always get that same level back, and for me personally, it can be
Right.
very frustrating, and it has been frustrating prior.
Mm.
But you can't expect yourself from other people.
Right. And you can't, the goal to love shouldn't be loved. It should just be love. You understand what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say? Like, sometimes I used to catch myself, and still sometimes I catch myself, like, when I say I love you, my first instinct is to wait to hear it back. Now, did I say it because I wanted to hear it back? Or did I say it just to say it so that they know? Um, and both can be true at the same time. But I just feel like it's important to love, not to be loved, even though that is like the overpouring outcome. It's just to be love in general.
no, I respect that. That was real. Um, that was one of those moments where you're like, "Ooh, I'm taking that." You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I'm proud of you.
thank you.
Um,
Because, sometimes things just be falling out of my mouth, and I'm like, I hope that makes sense to other people.
no, I did. You made a lot of sense with that. Um, you might hear it in the poem I use later in the future.
I'm
Um,
gonna want some copyright.
but that's definitely a hard. It's a hard process to go through. To like, you can talk about that forever. Like to man, this cough got me bad. The importance of just loving for the sake of loving and not what you plan to get in return. And um it's a very deep level to get to. Uh, how long have do you feel like you've been in that space?
um, More recently, actually, um, I feel like in the past, I've loved so deeply because, like, I know what it feels like to have a lack thereof, and I don't want anybody that I love to feel the lack. Um, but also it kind of was almost like a trauma response, right? Where like I'm trying to love them so deeply because I don't want to feel the lack either any like ever again. So if I love you more deeply, I'm not going to feel the lack because obviously you're just going to love me back in that way and in that intention. It doesn't always happen that way, and that's the lesson that God gave me until I learned it over and over again in different spaces and different capacities. But I think that what I took from it was that the intention should be to just embody what love is, to pour into yourself as much love as you possibly can. And then the outpour of that love will spill onto other people, and you can love them so deeply and so truly, and they're going to feel that just coming off of you. Um, so again, like it all circles around the intention to like be the love, not to fill a void, um, and not for like acceptance or anything else other than the intention to just try and be the light and be the love.
No, I like it because while you're explaining all that in my head, I'm going in circles. It's like um thinking about my own experiences with that and that struggle of just like you said being the love. Um, and it's like when people say if somebody truly loves themselves, they don't really have other negative things to say about somebody else. Like
Mm.
so, there's that aspect of it, and the other aspect of like when you were just talking about before, like a lot of people do end up loving in a way that they want to be loved in, but you also have to take inventory or hold people accountable for not loving you in the way you're showing them that you want to be loved in. Because, like you said, sometimes you learn the lesson in that way, but you also have to ask yourself, are you only acting this way because of the other thing that you want in return.
Mm-hmm.
And when you operate from that space of just wanting to feel a certain way for yourself, it's not like, oh yeah, I see this sad person being sad. It makes me feel good to make this sad person not be sad. No, I think you operate from a place of you see a sad person being sad, and you're like, I remember what it's like when I used to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me pat you on the back or something. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? It's damn. This cough really got me.
You need some water or something.
I know I need some water. Is that your water?
Mm-hmm.
Can I have it?
Yeah. You could hold it. You need it more than me.
I'm gonna drink the whole thing. He wasn't getting it back. I appreciate that so much, though. Look at the guests helping out the host.
I come prepared.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting feeling. Like when I'm very big on energy, and I don't know how to put the words to it,
Mm-hmm.
but like when you really operate from that space of lack of expectations because you don't want anything in return. You just have this intent of putting out good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just thinking about being in love. I'm gonna think about that this week. I think I'm gonna have a goal for myself. Every day, find a moment to just be the love,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's holding the door or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that too.
You got me into that. Really into an in-depth conversation. I wasn't ready to go there right away.
Right away. You
No,
know me though.
not yet. Not yet.
Straight to the depth.
Right?
It's a depth or a dub for me.
Depth or a dub?
Yeah.
I like that. Listen, you was writing all these down for like
Oh,
some
depth or
weeks
a dub is already
and just
written.
waiting.
Nah,
Like,
nah.
yeah, I'm
Depth
gonna
or
use.
a dub is somewhere. I don't know if it's in one of my poems or my spoken words or one of the records off my new album, but I remember I've said it before.
Um, who or what is your community?
Mm. Um, I could say like my group chat is my a very intimate community that we have. I don't really feel like I have if if I call you my friend, you're my family. Um, so I really just have family and acquaintances,
Mm-hmm.
and my family is my community, and we all have different interests within that like intimate community, but we have a deep foundational love and acceptance for each other, and I think that that is so important in community. But I would say in terms of like my music and stuff, I have a different community, and I'm also trying to build my community within my music, where it matches the same energy as my community personally outside of music. I want to build the same foundational intention. So I, so my career and my music and my legacy has sustainability and longevity.
How long have you been doing music?
Well, God put music in me when I was born. Um, I started writing before I knew I could sing. I started playing the piano before I knew I could sing. And then I started writing when I was like 4, playing piano when I was like
Mm-hmm.
6 or 7, and started singing in the 6th grade. Never really looked back. I never really thought about ever doing anything else in life.
Okay, I asked that more so because you said that you want your communities for that are your personal and your community that is like your musical team. That you said.
Yeah. And just like, the pockets that you do music in, there's so many facets to building a team within music and a space.
What made you take inventory of that and realize that all of those things were in line for you?
Um, I think there was a point in my life where doing music didn't feel good anymore. And when it was so overwhelmingly consuming, like the light of my life, to something that didn't feel good anymore, um, I wanted to take inventory on what shifted. And I think it was one, the intention in which I was moving through music, and um, the root of why it made me happy to begin with. And then the people I was around doing it with or doing it for. Um, and I didn't, my, like conceptually, I just thought like you get into the music industry, right? And like whoever is there that's the team, you just, you figure out a way into that. And I never really realized that you could build a team of like minded individuals and just spaces where those people are. And for me, trust God that He will create opportunity if I'm in the right space with the right people.
Hmm.
And that feels good because when I'm going off of what feels um, aligned and safe and inspirational and filling my cup, like spaces that fill my cup and breathe new life into me, then only good things can eventually come from those spaces.
And have you ever reflected on like the decisions that you made that brought you into the space that you now look back on and say, all right, that space isn't in tune with who I want. If I'm operating from 100% intentionality to be this person,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm here, I'm not in tune with that.
Yep. I did that a lot of times. And it kind of, and this happens to a lot of people. When you don't have the luxury of moving off, just off intention, when there are other factors like finance and, just taking care of yourself and supporting yourself. And it's really hard. Like, going after a dream is really tough. And it's tougher when it's not it's a luxury um, to be able to go after it and not have to worry about other things. And I've always had other stuff to worry about. So it's like, I know that maybe I shouldn't take this job because it's not with the people that I want to be around, but it pays my bills and that gives me safety. And maybe I do this for a little while and then I could figure something else out. Or like, you know, maybe I did a couple things or worked a couple jobs that like really wasn't in tune, but it did help me meet somebody that got me somewhere else. Like I've just kind of been trusting the process. Um, but I did just quit bartending about a little over a year ago. That was a big change for me financially. Uh, but I feel like like my whole self. I feel like I've done so much work on the inside of myself, and I didn't realize I had so much work that needed to be done because I've always been such a thoughtful and like love forward and like very compassionate, empathetic person. So I just thought like I don't need to work on any of my inside stuff. My inside stuff looks good,
Okay.
but I had a lot of work to do.
So you felt like being being together and able to love other people meant that you were in a space that was good enough for yourself mentally?
I thought I wasn't really thinking um about what aligned well for me mentally. I was thinking, how much money do I need to make a week in order to support myself and put yourself in a space where the opportunity presents itself that you can make it. And then on your days off, you could worry about your mental.
Okay. And then you find yourself without any days off.
No days off because it's constant mental strain.
I understand that now. That's a difficult situation to put yourself in. Um, so do you find that because your mindset, I assume that your mindset then was, all right, I need to be able to afford my lifestyle regardless of the lifestyle because you have a goal that you have
Yeah, by
in
any
the end.
means necessary.
In the end, so now it's more so like I need to live a lifestyle that's more in tune with the goal I have in the end,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and all the other stuff will fall into its place.
Yeah, and that was a lesson I learned through my therapist. Um, and it took me a while to understand because she always says the same thing. It's not in the doing, it's in the being. It's not in the doing, it's in the being.
Hmm.
And I was like, but I gotta be financially stable.
Mm.
So I gotta go to this job that pays these bills. And she sent me this, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a Steve Harvey. He's talking at one of the end of his shows, and it's like he's preaching, and he's like, you just gotta jump, and God will catch you, but your parachute won't open right away, but it will eventually. But people get so scared right after the jump that they fall back into old patterns. So that's why I'm trying to be so intentional on like, okay, if money's getting tighter and tighter, and like, studio time is expensive, and going into the city and networking is expensive, and um you know eating is expensive. um I'm in the jump, and my parachute will open. So don't go back to bartending in those toxic environments, and don't go back to thinking about old ways of making money.
Hmm.
Be the person that you're aspiring to be inside, and it'll attract those good things.
And it's such a simple concept because life
Yeah,
is,
but it's scary,
it's,
bro.
yeah, I know, and I think that's the hard part about life is the emotions.
Yeah,
Because like it's really so simple.
overwhelming emotions
Like
all the time. I'm sorry too.
like sorry. But like literally just be who you want to be tomorrow today. And
Right,
that's it, anything. Like if you want to become a weightlifter, start lifting weights today.
right,
You don't wait for it. You just attack it. And as time goes on, when you're busy doing the work, you're just going to get better.
right,
Like whatever it feels like is uncontrollable, or like I say, even if you start to feel things are uncontrollable, when you operate with intention, you just I was having this conversation with the last guest. It's like you operate with intention, your perspective shifts whenever you see a problem. They're not problems. They're opportunities for growth.
right.
And that's, I think if you rebrand the jumping into a growth opportunity.
Well, yeah, my therapist always says they're never problems, they're just portals.
That's pretty good too.
I'm telling you, sis and me,
Just,
she has so many gems. But if you're not doing the work, they won't click for you.
oh, that's everything. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, because you got to do the work. Then this last guest, makes me really want to go back and learn some more African proverbs because like she mentioned it very well as the lessons and the importance of proverbs is not that this is how you take it. It's the fact that you can take this and apply it to different situations.
Mhm.
Like that applies to it. They transcend cultures. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying? They transcend cultures and they transcend experiences. Because you grew up in the neighborhood you grew up in. I grew up in the neighborhood I grew up in. And this proverb will work for both of us, and regardless of the experience that we have, because we'll have something that's overlapping.
Right.
You know. Um,
I feel like that's like, our friend group in general. Like we none of us came from like the same place or the same family background or the same dynamics in terms of anything, but like we overlap in the right ways. I think all of our capacity for um, love and understanding, and just like also our sarcasm, really just brings us together as people. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about our like my friend group and in general is just look how different we all are, and that's what makes us so special
Hmm.
because it's so unsuspecting that all of us would be so close, and the level of closeness that we are is such a great blessing. Um, and it's just cool that to be in circles that have that overlapping capacity.
Oh, for sure. And it's like I think studies can be done on stuff like that, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like the only way to drive culture forward, in my opinion, is to blend cultures. You take the best stuff from that culture, take the best stuff from that culture, and then the best stuff comes out of it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And I think when you have situations like you described, where you have a group of friends that come from all these different backgrounds, they have all these different experiences. Yeah, where we're gonna have so many different. We only have so many different ways to live, but how we do it, and we discuss like Haitian culture, Italian culture, or Hispanic culture,
Mm-hmm.
or just African American. All that, all that other stuff blends, and we learn more. Our perception of the world is expanded before we ever put into like a box where like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
those people are this way, those people are this way. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We're very at a very young age. You're like, no, people are just people.
Right.
You know?
And we're all doing our best.
Yeah, for the most part, right? Um, but yeah, it's a very interesting area to have grown up in. I would say
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful first.
I was gonna say
I'm
very
thankful for
thankful.
it. Can you share with me a most recent challenge you overcame?
Mm. Coming to terms and being okay with the fact that um, the harder I love people won't make them love me better. The harder I love myself will make me more okay with other people not returning the energy.
Okay. And are you willing to share? So I hear what you're saying. Are
Mm-hmm.
you willing to share how you learned that?
In many different ways, honestly, I just think that, like, again, my intentions are always good. But the more work I did on self acceptance for myself, the less it bothered me when other people like the less it bothered me when other people weren't as receptive in the way that I wanted them to be to my love, or like if they're also annoyed with things that annoy me, because it's like, well, yeah, it's true. I do that sometimes. I am that way. That is something that I'm working on, or that is not like a light trait of mine in terms of like something that's super positive, but I'm very self-aware, and I know that that doesn't embody who I am as a whole person. But I used to be like, and I mean I can still fall into the habit of, you know, if somebody who doesn't use punctuation and in text messages all of a sudden puts a period, I would immediately think, what did I do that is made them mad at me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like maybe they just put a period, or maybe they're auto corrected it, or like, or if they are mad at me and they didn't speak on it, sounds like a them problem until they bring it up. And I always used to second guess like things that I would say, um, even if I really felt that way, because I didn't want the outcome to be tension or an argument or anything like that. And now I'm more. It's funny because I thought that I was being more intentional with how I was speaking, but that was fear based. I'm more intentional with how I speak now. That's truth based and true to myself.
That's real. I think that's very deep because people be like, oh, you can be real, and but when you're operating from a space of fear, it's avoidance.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, I kind of feel like this,
Yeah.
or I kind of feel like that, rather than I know, like, with my journey on this, it's I've been in more so. I'll try to avoid situations that would be differing opinions. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but as I get better with it and being more honest with myself, and like you said, like the more you love yourself, the less caught up you are with all the other stuff that stops you from loving yourself, like being scared of accepted, not being accepted by other people. I feel like is I don't give a random number, but 7 times out of 10, the reason why you operate from fear, in my
Mhm.
opinion. The lack of acceptance or being viewed as just somebody that doesn't fit in.
Mhm.
But when you're like, yeah, like I love that you said, this is just who I am. I'm okay with that. I do that sometimes, but that doesn't define who I am. Like
Right.
I have a coworker that I really fuck with. Like she's my, she's like my sister. I tell her all the time. I'm like, and she's one of those people that her love language is different, and she tells me that sometimes, and I'm like, "Gee, I love you like a sister,"
Mhm.
and it's I guess making people uncomfortable is fun for me sometimes,
Mhm.
but then I see how uncomfortable she gets in it. But it's
With
like
what? Like affection? Like
did that affection,
yeah.
but I'm also like, Ryan, you're being annoying right now in
yeah.
my head, right? But even for me, I'm like, yeah, but that's just who you are. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I
You know what I
know.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And even if she's gonna, you know what? Next week she'll be like, yo, you're annoying me, and I'm like, that's okay.
That's what
You know what I mean? It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna change who I am right now because when you really accept yourself, it's not so much of how you're gonna feel, how you're gonna make me feel.
Right.
It's more so how I just made myself feel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to wait for your response. Yeah, if your response is negative and I unintentionally hurt you or made you feel a type of way, then I'll
Yeah.
I'll respond appropriately.
Right.
But I never operate from that intention of like to do somebody wrong.
Right. Yeah, I think like, everybody knows I'm a very affectionate person and like um passionate person and I don't ever miss an opportunity to tell somebody that I love them. Um and like some people are uncomfortable with like personal like touch affection. I hugging everybody in the room like and
Mhm.
I know that a lot of people aren't huggers and sometimes I make people uncomfortable by giving them a hug. One, I was raised this way. Two, I don't know how to be anything else. I feel like if I was to go meet somebody and like extend my hand, like I would be so awkward and so out of alignment with who I am. So, I hug them and if they're like that's crazy, I'm like yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and I respect
It
it.
might be like I'm very comfortable with that. Some of my friends there, when I first met them back in college, they always referred to me for like, oh, she was the weird girl that like just came up and hugged me, and I was like, yeah. And now 15 plus years later, I'm in your life, not going anywhere.
Mhm. So I respect
like,
that.
I,
I think that's so cool, and I always tell you like the way you love people or the way you make them feel is important. Like
mhm.
whether some one person will be like, oh, like that's weird. Another person will say, you know what, that person probably needed that hug
Yeah,
that day or in that moment. And I used to be big on like being professional, like doing handshakes and all that other stuff, or just waving and when I now I'm trying to change certain things that not because I feel like I have to, but things that I feel like would be better quality traits to have.
mhm.
So being more affectionate in those moments, obviously reading the situation. Like
Right,
some people,
right. Read the room.
I don't want to just go hug somebody that's like this, you know what I mean?
Right.
Has their hand up to me,
yeah.
but like hugging people, giving Spanish people kisses on the cheeks,
Mhm.
or like even just hugging my brothers, like or what I mean, telling them I
Yeah,
love
so
them
important.
consistently, like um yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought right there, but oh, it's not who I was before, but transitioning towards that,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a little bit of a challenge, and it's been awkward sometimes because sometimes I'll go in and I'll just openly hug a girl. The next person, she'll put her hand out, and I take her hand and I hug her with her, while I'm holding her hand.
Yeah.
Then I feel like I just gave her a dab like one of my
Right.
brothers. I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
it's an art. It's an
Yeah.
art.
And sometimes it's okay if it's uncomfortable. Like sometimes guys will come up to me for a handshake and I'll dap them up and they'll be like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't know where we were going with this because I'm used to hugging people. So handshake, dap, I don't know,
Whatever it
whatever,
is,
whatever it is, you
whatever
know."
it is that makes you feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
But usually then I would feel uncomfortable in those spaces. But now I'm like, you know what? That's just me. Maybe sometimes I could be a little awkward, but my intention was pure.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And like we said, it's okay to process stuff, okay to reprocess it. Just
Mhm.
can't be stuck in the process.
Right.
So, man, for those of you that don't mind my cough and are still here listening, I appreciate you. If Jakai doesn't edit this out, um, you're talking a lot. I can't lie.
I know, cause I do
You know what you
that.
do? I'm like, damn, I got so much stuff. Let's jump around. Can you tell me about a pivotal life experience?
Yeah. I think um when I realized that my capacity for love transcended gender.
Elaborate.
Um I never really thought, I mean, always in the back of my head, I guess I knew that I had the capacity to fall in love no matter who someone's gender was,
Mm-hmm.
because what I really fell for in people were their the how deep their souls go, like the depth, their capacity to feel, their capacity to understand my feelings, their capacity to not be scared about how deeply I feel, because depth is a bottomless pit. Like all the really beautiful stuff that people love about me, like how wonderful I make them feel, and like how deeply I love them, and how I'll always go the extra mile. Like on the flip side of that is like, my I have depression and anxiety, and those emotions also go that deep. And that my how how light and how bright my light is, there's also really like a lot of darkness that I have the capacity to feel, because you don't get to choose to stay up in the light of depth. Like you have to accept all of it. So it's always been really important for me to make intimate connections with people who understand that about me and are not scared of that, and like can and I don't really even expect people to match it, but just to have the understanding. And the more I thought about, in terms of like a partnership and an intimate relationship, like what that looks like didn't really matter compared to, I always focused on what it feels like. So when I first fell in love with a woman, at first I was like, wow, this is crazy, because it was so much later in life for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I really sat with myself, I was like, this isn't very out of pocket for me. All the things, the qualities that I truly look for in somebody, that's all the same. The foundation is the same. Um, the feelings are the same. And whether, for me, because I'm bi, whether you're a man or a woman, I have the capacity to have deep feelings for both. And um, I think once I realized that that's how that's how much my love transcends, that's how much my depth transcends. Um, I like that was a very pivotal moment in my life, because it was um, a newfound level of depth that I didn't know. I didn't think I could go any deeper, and I really sometimes I don't want to, because it's like the deeper you go, the more pain, the capacity for pain you have to feel, and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't want to go any deeper on that end of the spectrum. Um, but I'm grateful for the capacity to feel no matter what the feeling is. And I'm grateful that um, I have such a vast ocean to um, find myself in over and over again.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Hmm.
I want to ask. So I don't know if this is necessarily just to your situation, but I guess it's like a general love question as well. Because it's like you said, you love, you have the capacity to love somebody regardless of their gender, and I
Hmm.
respect that. Um, because you said you have there's these qualities that you're attracted to.
Hmm.
When we're talking about love, do you feel like it's like you're attracted to these qualities, but you're attracted to qualities that you think somebody has, or are you attracted to who you think that person can be, or like, because what is it like? Because we go into a relationship with somebody, and then when things don't work out, like, what do you identify it as?
Um, I think you only know by being in something and by like, you know, paying attention to detail and um exploring the relationship. At first, it's very possible. What I've learned is uh, questions that I should ask myself earlier on in dating. Is this who this person is, or is it a reflection of who I am bouncing off of them? Because you always want to match people's energy in the beginning. And I used to think like, oh, like I'm instantly attracted to all these people that are so deep, and it's just like, no, they just trying to catch up with you. That might not really be where they settle or where they feel safe or comfortable. Um, but they'll go as far as they can with you to match that because it feels good. But is it sustainable? And I think the only way that you really know is through communication and consistency, and then constantly checking in with each other to make sure you're on the same page. I've 100% fallen in love with somebody's potential. Everybody has potential though. I've 100% fallen in love with the idea that somebody could be something that they say they want to be. Um, but I think the older that I've gotten, the better that I've gotten at that. And I can say that the the love that I've been involved in most recent years and stuff has really been of pure intent of who the person is. Because once again, the more self aware I am with myself and accepting of myself I am, like, the more I can love other people for exactly who they are and have the capacity to see them for who they are and not who I would potentially want them to be.
That's a deep answer. That was real. I like that. I like that. It
I'm
does.
saying things that are new to me too.
This
Like,
is what this is
yeah,
about, though. It's like I
yeah,
want you to think through your thoughts because, like, not all my questions are just things that I have written down. This is like us
yeah.
just having a conversation because, like, even for myself, like, I've been in two really long term relationships, right?
Hmm.
And when it comes to finding the partners, I feel like I've gotten lucky both times to find people that were really good to me and for me for the time.
Hmm.
Um, so now in this stage where I'm at, not really be looking for something serious right away, but understanding like that clock is ticking also, you know what I mean? It's like I want kids before a certain age, not that there's a time limit to it, but I also don't want to be in a serious relationship right now. So it's like finding that that balance of you see people, then you read them for what they're giving out, and I loved how you said they're just trying to catch up,
Hmm.
cause that shit is real.
Hmm.
That shit is real.
Hmm.
Like they'll say that this, they say that that, they say this, these all these other things, but then the truth comes out when they're not able to sustain.
Yeah, sustainability is the whole thing. It's like you could do that for a certain amount of time, but if it's not in your roots and if you're not being self aware, everything starts with self awareness, right? If there's
Hmm.
no self awareness, there's no sustainability and there's no potential for sustainability. Um, so it's just funny to see like, through therapy, that's not even something I even thought of, like a reflection of myself. Cause you're your worst critic.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at this person like, oh my goodness, what a light and all this stuff. And, I had to be reminded like could be a reflection, but sometimes I don't see my light. So I'm just thinking it's their light.
No, and
and
it's
and it's hard because it takes like constant checking in,
no.
and checking in constantly is very overwhelming for me because I tend to overwhelm myself every day, every second of every day with my emotion because I'm so emotional, and not like, oh, you hurt my feelings emotional, just like I have such a deep capacity for emotion that like I, f- I feel everything deeply.
Hmm.
Like, even a friend that doesn't usually say I love you, and if like off guard, she's just like, love ya, I could start crying.
Okay,
Like, cause that's just who I am, which
that's a
is
bit much.
something I didn't really love about myself.
Okay.
But now I do. Um, and I've lost my train of thought because I don't even know what the original question was. But I just think that the the more first of all, I'm such a big advocate for therapy because I have all these tools that I can use to when you ask me things like going into new relationships, and that could be in the workplace or in anything. Um, these questions to ask myself to check in and to build my self awareness so that I'm a stronger person going into any type of situation.
Hmm. And you gotta open. You have people around you that you can go to when you need to talk and you need to just vent because sometimes that's all we need to do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And don't just drown in your own emotions.
yeah.
I'm telling you that because I consider you somebody that's in my community as well, and I know when we talk about like therapy stuff, like it's interesting when you talk about that. Like, so when you're saying, "Oh, I have a lot of emotions," or I get stuck in my emotions. So some of the things that I try for myself is I'll think about the emotion I have right now and start to backtrack in my head to the moment I started to feel that and identify why I'm feeling like that. And it could be something stupid. It's like, oh, you're embarrassed because you did this, and that, and you worry that you might look foolish. And then it's like, does that really matter? No. And
Mhm.
I'll move on.
Mhm.
Or if it's something that's actually really big, and I'm like, you know what, I need to set some time aside a day from now, 2 days from now, to really sit for 15, 30 minutes and then be like, you know what, I thought through this. Is there anything I can do?
Mhm.
If there is, let's get to it. If there's not,
Right.
then
We gotta put it down.
yeah, we gotta move forward because
Mhm.
then you gotta. That's when you get to that whole what is the emotion? What is the emotion doing for me? If it's not doing anything for me, then I'll process it and I'll try to move on.
Yeah, it's important too in communities. I've been doing this more recently, because you need different things for different moments, and you could be venting to your group, but venting doesn't necessarily mean you want opinions either. It just
Yeah.
means you might want to get stuff out. So before I even go into things, actually, one of my friends started doing this, and I thought it was so profound, and now I do it all the time, and like we do it in that friend circle, and most of my friend circles is like when there's an issue, we say and we talk about it. We're like, how can I show up for you? Like, do you just want support? Do you want opinion? Like, do you want like matched emotion? Like, if you're hype, you want me to be hyped too? Like, do you need like somebody to calm? Like, what do you need? How do you want me to show up for you? And that shifts like the conversation, and it honestly creates a much safer space to talk about whatever you want to talk about, because sometimes I don't bring things to the group because I'm like, I don't want to hear their opinions. I just want to get it off my chest.
Mhm.
And so I'll say that like I just want to vent, and I need support. I need y'all to remind me of who I am right now in this moment because I'm about to go sick or
That's
something like that.
that's real. You can, that's a. I want to say men listen to that, need to hear that more than women, because even as myself, girls are talking to me about their problems, and I'm like, yo, all you gotta do is X plus
Yeah.
B times 2Y.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what you gotta do.
Right.
But no, they just really want to get that shit off their chest the same way. Sometimes you want to get that shit off your chest, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so you can go
No, that's all I had to say about that, I think.
on. Okay. Um, how do you deal with loss?
By giving myself a lot of grace um to feel the feeling no matter how like ugly it is. And that's in terms of loss of a person, loss of a person that's still alive, like mourning somebody that's still alive, loss of uh ideal of how you idea or a concept of how you thought life was gonna go. Um, there's I am a God loving woman, so I have a lot of faith that the things that I lost were only meant for me at the time they were meant for me. Um, and even though my feelings don't match that knowing, giving myself grace to feel through it, even though I have faith that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
You had it for its time that you were supposed to.
Yeah.
All right, all right. I can dig that. I can dig that. Um, I I asked that question because I love what we're talking about being just a couple minutes ago, and like you don't do, you gotta be. And I like that because when you think of it, at a deeper level, it's like you literally don't do. You just gotta be, because it takes me to the whole Erica Badu quote when she says, "Growth is elimination."
Mm-hmm.
You don't. It's you're not what you do. Like everything you don't do is what you are. If that makes sense, you know. It's like you gotta get rid of all the negative stuff if you really just want to be a positive person.
Yeah.
Uh, and that whole growth is elimination. I love that quote so much.
Yeah. She's a woman of wisdom.
Um, if you could be an instrument, what would it be?
I would probably be it, like a baby grand piano. Um, just because there's a lot of octaves and a lot of um, room for intricate melody and major chords and minor chords and diminished chords. And um, the piano has always been able to match any feeling that I've ever been feeling. So if I was to be an instrument, it would be an instrument that could um, depict any emotion someone else was feeling and validate it for them or make them feel any emotion, anything beautiful or safe or uh, the piano is just so special to me and I just am thinking about like my personal connection to it and how when I've heard somebody play piano that has a happy melody or like a super dark and depressing melody and I just think that like no matter what emotion it's giving beautiful. Um so yeah, probably Baby Grand.
Huh? I like that for you. You have a piano in your home, right?
Yeah, the piano in my apartment is the piano that started my whole musical journey.
Oh, so that's
That's the piano.
way back from your parents' house.
Yeah, that's from my parents' house. And it was a gift my mom got my dad. Um, and they didn't think that I was like, there was no intention of me falling in love with it. I just became enamored by it at a very young age.
Do you still play?
Yeah, but not as much as I used to. I would love to get back into it. Just takes a lot of time. But sometimes I'll find myself like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, like can't sleep, get out of bed and just like play
Is
anything.
it loud?
My neighbors have never complained, but it is.
I was like,
It is
yeah,
a it is a little loud.
I would definitely call the cops on
Yeah. Calling the cops for beautiful music.
that. If it's 4 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, nothing's beautiful at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Um, Next section I have is the Book of Human Emotions by
Okay.
Tiffany Watt Smith. I ask you an emotion, and you let me know if you've experienced it, and if you have, give me an example. Do you know what the collywobbles are?
Mm-mm.
All right, it's a feeling of unease in the pit of the stomach. It's like if you get get information that you're not fond of, and to get the
The
pit of your
bubble guts?
yeah, essentially the bubble guts.
Yeah.
We call it the British, I believe, called it the collywobbles.
Oh, okay.
I want to bring that shit back. That's Mookie lit.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I was
I got the
about to say.
collywobbles. Yes.
Yes, I feel that often. I do feel that often.
Why?
Sometimes I'll think of something that makes me super uneasy and I'll get nauseous.
Um, do you know? Can you give me an example of the last thing that made you feel the collywobbles?
Um, Damn, because I just felt it like last week. I think it had something to do with like a finance or something that I didn't know if I was going to be able to come up with in time.
Yeah, the collywobbles.
Mhm.
That's real collywobbles right there.
Mhm.
I would have had the collywobbles too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know why this was on my mind, but I have to address this now before I get distracted again. Because you said this before, like this was like some grand phenomenon. It's like, yeah, I didn't know I had a capacity to love people regardless of the sex that they are.
Mhm.
Like you got this huge capacity that's bigger than mine. Like I have a huge capacity also. My
Mhm.
capacity is just turned off on one side,
Mhm.
so I've doubled the capacity that I'm able to love women with.
Mhm.
Okay, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. I don't think that um one is greater than the other. I just think that mine covers more ground,
Mhm.
but not depth,
Okay. Okay.
just width,
Shut your ass up,
not
Sky.
depth.
I'm just kidding. We're gonna go right. Let's get a little deeper, even though I feel like we've been in the depths for a while. When was the last time you cried?
Today.
Oh my god, what did you cry about today?
Um I've been taking my Polaroid with me everywhere I've gone since and I've been more intentional, and one of my goals for this year was to be super intentional with where I take it with me because I want to make a photo album at the end of the year with all my Polaroids of like special moments. And this goes back to like when I bartended for 10 years and I missed out on so many events and things because the opportunity cost would have been $500-$600 that I really needed for studio time or for this or for that. And again, my um, I needed to rework a lot of things mentally with what was important to me and how to move and how to be and not just do and all that stuff. So to walk in that intention, I want to take pictures of the moments that I'm in now, that I can look at them and be like, this is stuff that you used to miss out on all the time. And now you're in it. And it's just like visual reminders that like I'm doing the work and I'm like being in the moment and I'm creating core memories with the people that I love the most. Um, so we took some Polaroids last night and I was looking at them this morning and I got a little emotional because when you're doing the work, sometimes it feels like you're not doing the work, and when you're in the thick of it, it's just really heavy. And it was just a very sweet moment. And honestly, it was just on my way out the door to work. But yeah.
And just remember also, at some point you're just gonna be doing the work to where that's just your job.
Mm-hmm.
Where looking back, I don't know, because it's always good to look back, but sometimes for me, looking back just does a disservice of how much work you're putting in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe I need to sit with that to think about it more. But you've always been that person with the Polaroid, or the person that
That annoying person that's like, take another picture.
no, not even that. I'm saying that even before, like when you said you were bartending and you're missing out on a lot of stuff. When
Mm-hmm.
you did show up and show out, like it was an experience, not like it was this or that. It was not. You communicated, you connected with the people that you haven't been with, and to be honest, like I say, a lot of your friends tried to their best to include you by going to where you worked.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Sure
what I
did.
mean?
Wait,
So
what?
like you were there. You
Free
took
drinks help.
yeah. Some people took advantage of that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, you don't know
I don't know
who?
who, but some
I
people took advantage of
don't.
that. So who or what in your life makes you smile?
Obviously my people. My brother, my extended family, uh, and by extended family I mean the family of my closest friends. Random people's vulnerability, random acts of kindness. Those are the things I think that bring me the most joy on like a day-to-day basis, things that like actually make me smile.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
I like those. What does self care mean to you?
um there are levels, but it I think that the root of it is checking in with yourself and asking yourself what you need as often as you can. um because sometimes, like, going to the sauna or taking a nap or something like that are actually avoidance, like I'm avoiding something. So really checking in with myself and asking myself what I need in that moment. I think it starts there.
So do you only do self care after you do inventory on yourself and realize like, all right, I'm not, um, I need something in this moment.
Yeah. Sometimes if I get overwhelmed with a bunch of tasks that I'm doing at once, and I'm usually really good with multitasking, I'll be like, when was the last time I took some time for myself? Like just me. And that's took some time for myself and not been thinking about all the other stuff that I had to do, right? Like actual time for myself, give myself grace to do nothing or give myself grace to lay in the bath for an extra hour. Like, when was the last time I did that? And if it had been a while, it's like, all right, stop what you're doing if you can, right? If you're not on the clock and you didn't like commit to something, if you can, stop what you're doing and give yourself some time, because now you're trying to play catch up and nothing's getting done and you're just getting more overwhelmed.
Hmm. Is there anything that you have planned for this? I don't say for the new year, but the second week of the new year that can count as tough care for you?
No, I have no self care plan for next week. Maybe it's time to check in.
We're just starting. We're just starting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna check in with you at the end of the week.
Mm.
Um, Next section of this podcast is called "Feel This Way." Are you familiar with that? Probably not. Rude. I will say a word, phrase, or statement, and I want you to tell me what emotions, thoughts, or memories it sparks. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have something to say?
No, all I'm saying is I might not catch on to every every portion, but I pay attention to when words are said
No, I hear that,
that
and
stick to me.
that's why we're getting the clips out.
Yeah.
This is why. But we'll talk about that another time.
Uh-huh.
So feel this way. I will say a word, phrase, or statement, and I want you to tell me what emotions, thoughts, or memory it sparks.
Uh-huh.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Regret.
Calm.
Calm.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
No.
No.
Actually, I have one regret.
Which is
When I was maybe in the fourth grade,
oh, here she go.
this is the only thing, and I always think about this, and when people ask me about regrets, like, because everything that I've done has led me here and led me to the people that are in my life and whatever, and I have faith and I trust the process. At the end of the day, but my dad, it was take your kid to work day,
Hmm.
and I opted to stay home with my mom instead of going to work with my dad and play hooky. If I could do it over again, I would go to work with him. I think that I was too young to understand how hard my dad worked to get where he was
Hmm.
and how incredible it was. And I think I missed a real opportunity to one, make a core memory, to two, show up for him, and to three, maybe not know it in the moment, but to look back and be like, wow, how incredible. Like to be in the, like, in to see how he worked, just to be there and just to like be in the presence of everything that he built from himself, from literally the ground up. So yeah, I would say that if I had a life regret, that would be the only one.
I respect that. Before I had a lot to say, but I don't got a lot to say. I
I
got
know.
an answer.
I knew you thought I was going one way, and I
Yeah,
took it somewhere.
shout out to Papa D.
Yeah.
The next word I have is bully.
Ugh, stressful.
Why?
One, I hate to see a bully. Um, it makes me cringe and it gives me the ache. But two, also because I was bullied.
How long? Wait, how old were you when you were bullied?
I was bullied a lot from over my whole life for different things and different reasons. Whether it was my appearance or when you're that young and I'm feeling all these feelings and I have no self awareness.
How does that shape? How, do you feel like you deal with trauma from being bullied from growing up while growing up now?
So just recently, actually, within the past couple of weeks, I realized that that could have something to do with how I respond to certain things. I'm starting to do inner child work, and so I realized that this is a very new journey for me. But I realized that yeah, that could have a lot to do with how I moved or like how I respond to emotionally to certain things. It's so scary because I like inner child work has always freaked me out. Um, so it's very new for me, but I feel prepared now to have the tools to do it. So I don't really have too much to say because it's pretty new, but and I haven't really taken the time to think about it. It's just something that you wanted to get through. Um, and a lot of getting through it, I didn't really feel through it. It was more of like, when you're a kid, you don't, I was never taught, like, don't bury things, heal through them. Like, no one ever taught me that. Um, and when I learned that, I started to move differently, but there are still things that are buried that I have to unlearn.
Yeah,
But you have to identify what they are, and I don't necessarily know exactly what they are yet.
it's like a squirrel that lost that nut that's gonna drive him crazy. He'll pick
Right.
it up one day.
Yeah. I just gotta do a lot of work to figure it all out, but it's a process that I've just recently started to commit to.
I think that's amazing that you're doing the process, and it speaks to how big of a advocate you are of doing the work in therapy. Um, Naria bought me a book. It's my ex. She bought me a book a while ago. This was a couple of years back. I used to spend my free time doing it when I was calm or in the right mindset to do it, and it actually helped me out. I started going around with it. It has like exercises in the book for people to do. It's I think the title is "Soundless Cries Don't Lead to Healing,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very powerful book that makes you reflect on positive and negative memories, and then like you start to identify those core memories that shaped who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I wanted to touch on the fact that you said like you weren't out there creating memories, but you're in a lot of people's memories. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You might not see it in your head as you being on the funner side of things, but people remember seeing you a lot of places. It's like, um, no, I think that's it. I don't have to give you another example.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
I don't need
saying?
examples. Yeah. I feel that.
Um, the next word I have is therapy.
Mm. I just honestly, it's like a light bulb, like in a toolbox, like like things that are popping up in my head when I think of therapy. I think it's it's definitely a safe place, a place of growth. It makes me feel hopeful and safe. Is the emotion that comes up.
Hopeful and safe.
Hmm.
Okay, I get
And
that.
sturdy.
And therapy has been an amazing thing for me. I
I
mean,
love
like
to hear that.
you're somebody that's always talked about mental health for a long time. Um, to the point where, like back in the day, I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were telling me, I think I was talking to Matt, and he was telling me about seasonal depression, and I was like, here goes that white people shit, because I remember you're one
Hmm.
of the first people that mentioned seasonal depression to me,
Hmm.
and I respect it. Like it's being operating now from a place of being much more informed, and then also much more willing to get the help that I need now. My perception is so much more different.
Yeah, greater. You have a greater capacity. You're
Yeah.
working on your capacity,
Hmm.
and it's deepening.
So shout out to you for that, and stay on that journey. And I'm looking forward to having more opportunities where we could both speak to speak as advocates to all the work that we're doing internally,
Hmm.
and I want to say guiding people, but encouraging them to do that work for themselves.
Yeah. Well, you be it when you are the love. When you be the love. When you be the light. You don't have to tell people why they should. They're just gonna want to.
100%,
So you're
hundred
in.
percent.
I read a quote somewhere that I'm not gonna be able to get the exact quote, but it was basically like something like you don't brutalize or bully people into believing the good or like anything. You inspire them to make them want to feel that and
Hmm.
want to do that or want to be that. So I feel like you, you just, the focus is not to change people, it's to be the best version and be the brightest light and the biggest love you can in yourself. And the ripple effect of that is that other people will be the same.
I like that. Um, Next word I have is sexuality.
I have I could go a bunch of ways with this. I would just say the emotion that it brings me right now is like when I think of sexuality, I think of peace because I know exactly like who I am in that regard and have total acceptance of it regardless of other people's opinions.
And I'm not gonna question it any further.
Mm.
The last word I have is I appreciate you.
You know, I love to say that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah.
I say it to everybody now.
Yeah. Because it's just like, even at the grocery store, like checking out, if somebody is, I usually bag my own groceries, but if somebody was to bag them for me, I'd be like, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
It just hits different than thanks,
yeah.
you know?
It honestly does, and it's something that we need to say more to people. But even like the small things, and that's why, like ever since I remember you said that to me one night, and I'm like, okay. I'm picking up what she's putting down.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next day I was out on the streets.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother.
No, but for
My
real.
brother of Christ, I appreciate you. I said that my sister of God, I appreciate you. I do, but and it's I don't say it just I say it with the pure intention of the fact that I do. Like, to me, thank you is not enough. I feel like we all go through daily struggles and have stuff that we're going through. Um, the goal is to lift and be lifted. So, in any small capacity, like, I appreciate you.
No,
I appreciate you by just waking up and showing up here,
mm-hmm.
you know, and doing in anything, even if it's your job and you have to do it and you get paid well to do it. I still appreciate that you do it well. Yeah, I love to say it and I love to hear it.
It's
just out in the world, not even to myself. I just
mm-hmm.
love to hear people say that they appreciate other people.
It teaches like a certain level of gratitude.
Yeah.
In some youth, you know.
Yeah, and it makes people feel seen.
All right. That was the last one I had. So, saying that, it makes me feel like I want to tell you I appreciate you.
I appreciate
but you already know that.
I know.
And you know I always end the podcast off with a poem. So here
that
I go.
I do know.
Oh, now she knows something. Right. As I reminisce, sometimes I wish I cared a little more. Instead of truth, I dared a little more. I attempt to wash my face of the thoughts that race. I still find myself staring in the mirror, thinking of the pain that faded, the vices that aided, counting the days till the return of remorse that's debilitating. But here I am, right on time. I think the countless tidal waves I've waited. This is something to hold this.